Hey everybody, Zach here for another edition of the Friday Fishing Report for Pacific Angler. This week I've got another flats pattern for you. This is called the Turneff Crab. I got a few tips and tricks on this one that are definitely worth checking out that I haven't seen done on other videos, so this one's a little bit different. Crab patterns are one of those things that some people find a little bit intimidating, but they are actually not all that difficult to tie. They go together quite quick for the most part, and pretty cool looking patterns. So everything eats these: permit, bonefish, triggerfish, you name it. Everything hates crabs on the flats. So let's hop on to it and get this one going. So for a hook, I am using a Gamakatsu G-Carp hook. This fly I'm tying more for triggerfish. They are known to munch through hooks. So this one's got a pretty stout wire, pretty big gap, and super sharp hook point. Another good one is the Owner Fly Liner, is one that I've heard tossed around quite a bit. But yeah, the Gamakatsu G-Carp hooks, when you can find them, are actually pretty good. This is a size 4. For thread, I'm using Danville 140 in shrimp pink. You can use orange or chartreuse. Might kind of mix around with all of them, creating a little different hot spots and things like that. So I start by just dressing the fly hook with a bunch of thread just to get a good base going. And I go to about the midpoint, or where that hook point is. This is where I'm going to tie my eyes. So these are just some plain lead eyes in a size small. You can go as big or small as you like. I find the small is a pretty good size. It's not too obnoxious. It's heavy enough. All I'm going to do is make some X wraps, kind of like so. Try to keep them even. That kind of keeps the eyes somewhat even as well on the hook shank, so they're not twisted one way more than the other. I don't worry about them too much if they're going to twist on me. I have a trick for securing them in place. Just make sure they're nice and level. Give a couple more wraps here. And then I come underneath the eyes but over top of the shank to kind of pinch all those X wraps together. Just like so. So like I said, I don't worry too much about putting super glue or anything. We take care of that later on. Now, one trick that I haven't seen done on any videos, which kind of makes a lot of sense to me, and it also just helps to disperse the weight of the eyes around, is you actually flatten them. This also helps the legs seat properly. It speeds up that process a hell of a lot quicker. So all I've got is just a pair of pliers here. And I just come in and I squish them nice and flat. It's kind of as flat as I can get them, just like so. Make sure those are pretty much even. Your side gets a little bit more. Just give them a good squeeze. Like I said, this is, instead of it being rounded, it actually flattens it right out. So this helps to land the crab a lot flatter when it hits the bottom. It also really helps to improve seating our legs, which is a big time-consuming step of this fly. Our next material is going to be just some furry foam in cream. It is a sheet of foam that is furry. Adds a little bit of life to the patterns. This is great for like damsel and dragonfly patterns as well. It's really cool material to work with. Quite easy. So all I've done is I've cut a strip off the chunk of the foam, and I've got it about the hook gap, more or less. It's okay if it's a little bit bigger, it's okay if it's a little bit smaller. I don't stress about it too much. And all I'm going to do is tie this in right behind the eyes with a few loose wraps, because I need the shell back of the crab to be on the hook point. I like this fly to ride hook point up. So just a few loose wraps, and then you can kind of spin it. Spin to win until it's seating right on top, like so. Then I come back, give a few more tighter securing wraps, just like so. Just gonna double check one more time, make sure my eyes are seating how I want them, which they are. Excuse me there. And now we're going to tie on our legs. So for the legs, some grizzly barred rubber legs on this one in tan. You can use whatever colors you want. Obviously the olive colored crabs, when you're matching the bottom and stuff like that, I go with an olive kind of leg. This one being cream. These tan rubber legs work quite well. So they come on a little zip tie there. I'm going to cut 2 away from the zip tie. Almost ready for another pack. I've tied a few of these. And I'm going to fold those 2 in half. I'm going to trim it. And now I've got 4 legs. So I like to give myself a couple more X wraps, and I like to finish with the thread on your side of the hook, so the side that's away from me, in front of the eyes. And I'm going to place these guys right on top. And I'm going to come over top and do an X wrap. So hopefully you can see that there. So it crosses from my side to your side on the opposite side of the eyes. Then I'm going to grab these legs, and I'm going to come from my side over, if I can get that leg back here, come from my side over to your side, just like so. And I kind of just wiggle them a little bit. So I've got all 4 legs. Of course, that wrap came undone. So I kind of just wiggle them a bit so they're right in between the eyes and right in the middle, like so. Now the trickiest part that I found with these flies is getting the legs to seat out in kind of a circular kind of motion or configuration. And by flattening the eyes, all you have to do, this makes it really, really easy, is you come, try to do this showing the camera, is I literally come over top of the eye. I just take a single wrap over top of them, and that splays them all right out in a perfect circular motion. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. A little bit harder to do this on film. As I come right over top of the eye, and I pull down gently, and it splays those legs out perfectly every single time, which is awesome. That was one part of this fly that took up a lot of time, and it literally took this fly from being a 15-minute fly to like a 5-minute fly, which is huge when you're tying a bunch for a trip or for commercially for the shop. And now just to lock these guys in, I'm just going to take some Solarez thin. You can use the flex or thick as well. I like the thin because it kind of weaves itself in between all the legs. Just put a little dollop on top there. Kind of just make sure that it touches all the legs. Then I come in, give it a quick cure. A trick I've picked up is to not zap it all right away. When you do that, it overcooks the resin. People have had reactions and stuff to Solarez, so when you're overcooking it, it creates a puff of smoke. We don't want that. So just cure it slowly. Still cures really, really quick, so no need to just overcook it right away. That should be good. Now be careful of touching resin as well after you've cured it. It's still in the curing process. So I just give it a quick little touch. If you keep your finger on there too long, you'll actually feel it kind of burning. It is still hot, so just be aware of that. All I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull that foam over the back. I'm just going to tuck those legs away. I'm not pulling on it too tight forward. And I'll just cinch down a couple good wraps here. These legs can sometimes get in the way. That's fine. So if I pull too far forward on this stuff, it actually seats the legs a little bit weird. So I found out that trick of getting them in there quickly. I don't want them to be all messed up. So I'm just going to even out that foam there. Let me give one more good snug wrap. Come in here tight with my scissors, trim away the extra. I'm just going to tidy up that head a little bit, just with some thread wraps. There we go. You can see our legs are seated nice and perfectly in kind of a circle, which is what we want. It creates that kind of crab-like profile. We've got our crab body. Now to finish this guy off, we're just going to add a weed guard with just some deer hair. So this is just some bleached deer hair for the cream. I like to match up colors, obviously. This patch is really white over here, but over here it's kind of got some browny bits and stuff like that. I kind of like that. So I've been tying a lot of my cream ones. Some of these brown tips just adds a little bit of contrast to the fly. So it's it's not all just one color. I find the barring and color combinations definitely can make a better fly. So I cut it nice and close to the hide, and I'm just going to grab this by the tips and grab out all that under fur. And now I just need to stack the hair. So I have my hair stacker here. I'm just going to put that inside, tips down. And any stragglers that don't want to go to the party, we don't want them there. So I've got all the butt ends sticking at the top, all the tips are down. I'm just going to tap this on the desk a few times. And what this process does is it aligns all those tips. One there that wasn't wanting to cooperate. Now when I open it up, you can see all the tips are there, all perfectly aligned. I'm just going to grab them, pull them out. Sometimes you'll find some smaller pieces that don't want to be there. I'm just going to put that so the tips just kind of brush over top of the hook point. I'm going to come in here, just use the fat fingers, just with some tight snug wraps. 1, try to get those legs out of the way. 2, that should be pretty good. Now to really secure this in place, I'm just going to pull some of those butt ends back, give 1 wrap, pull a little bit more, 2 wraps, and we'll do a 3rd, 4th wrap here. Really trying to secure all that deer hair in place. One final step that I like to do to make sure everything's good is take some super glue, just brush it on my thread. This just adds a little bit more security. Once again, pull everything back. Just give a few nice snug wraps. This is probably the hardest part, is the whip finish. So I just grab everything back if I can. Well, of course it's not cooperating. There we go. This takes a little bit of practice. Try not to stab yourself. We got super glue on there, so I'm not super worried about bunch of whip finishes. Plus we're going to secure it with some resin on the bottom anyway. So now that we got that, we just got to trim this head, just tidy things up. So I like to just find all the butt ends, kind of pull them all forward as best we can. Careful that you don't get any legs. I'm just going to come in there, leave a little bit of the butt ends, kind of like them sticking out, looks kind of cool. Just come in there, trim away any of those stragglers. Some of them, when you're doing it, get kind of stuck on the bottom, just kind of pluck them out. Not the end of the world. One there, and one more there. Oh, and one more straggler. He's out of there. Now to finish this fly off, if you notice, actually, before I get to that, see the hook eye can get kind of crowded with the foam and stuff. What I like to do, I have a separate bodkin. You can see this one's kind of burnt up. I literally just heat it up with a lighter. Heat it up till that tip goes red, and then I just jam it through the hook eye, and it kind of burns away anything that's in there and it kind of cleans it up, which is nice. I did a pretty good job on this one. See those legs are looking pretty good. You can see through the hook eye. I'm just going to take a little bit more resin, and I'm going to dab this on the rear side of the eyes. Almost time for a new bottle here. Using this stuff a lot lately. A little bit on the rear side of the eyes, a little bit over top of those thread wraps, a little bit on those thread wraps at the head. And I put just a little bit on the bottom of the eyes. Hopefully you can see that there. Again, just cook it nice and slow. Kind of shine your light on it, take it away. And as it's going, eventually we get to that point where we can just cook it. Like I said, that doesn't overcook it, which is what we don't want. And just a quick little check. Yep, that's all good. And there you have it, the Turneff crab. And if you want, I also like to double check my leg length. Sometimes when you're positioning them, they get kind of jostled around. And just to even them up. There you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time.